we need to recognize as women, we've got long trajectories in our career and we have a lot of capacity. Well, listen, we're not retiring at 50, our capacity goes beyond that. So if you are in a place where you feel like you don't have the capacity to push in your career, that's okay. That is just a season of life and it will change. It's not always going to stay that way. It's based on the circumstances that you're in right now. So I think more than anything, I just gave myself permission to be okay with where I was. It wasn't where I wanted to be, but I knew that that would come.
Welcome back to the Divorce Circle. This is part 2 of our conversation with Jen Murtagh. Thanks for coming back, Jen. What advice would you give to parents who are feeling guilty about the impact of divorce on their children when they're navigating whether to separate or not to separate?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's a very difficult thing. And I think that we all hold that very close in our hearts about what's best for our kids. I think that it's important, just like we talked about, to model happiness. Like you're worthy of that, and you kind of said, would you want your kids to stay inside of relationships that they were feeling suffocated in, that they felt like they couldn't be themselves in? No. And so I recognize that guilt is just going to follow us around as parents for most of our, lives. And it's okay to let guilt be there and to do it anyways. It's a very, very brave thing to do. But, now that my kids have gotten older, my daughter's 16 now, she's asked very articulate questions over the last couple of years about the why. And we've had pretty grown-up conversations. And so modeling some of those boundaries and that your needs are important too, and you're worthy of having those big dreams for your life, I think that's important. I don't think anyone wins when you're miserable. And though it can be difficult, I think if you really center your kids in love and support, I think they're going to be okay. I think where I've seen a lot of kids suffer is when parents are toxic with each other.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes that's like one parent doesn't want to be, but the other one is. And it's hard to navigate that. But I think that kids that are surrounded in love, even if it's just from one parent, are going to do okay.
That's exactly true. I think if you only need one parent. Your mother primarily raised you, and you only need one strong parent to help you through that. And I think, if there's a toxic parent, I think the kids ultimately learn to navigate that on their own. And it's sad that they have to, but they do figure it out at some point. And I think going through separation and divorce, there's so much fear, the 4 negative emotions: fear, anger, shame, and guilt. And getting past all 4 of those is a very big thing.
It is.
But you have them whether you stay in the relationship or whether you leave the relationship.
Well said.
What was your co-parenting relationship like in the beginning? How was it introducing a new partner? I don't know when you met your partner in terms of the age of the kids at that point, and how has it evolved over time?
Yeah, I mean, I met my husband like maybe 6 months after we separated, and I didn't introduce him to my kids for quite a while. I think maybe another 4 to 6 months, maybe 4 months after that. I'm just trying to recall sort of the timeline. I didn't introduce him until I knew like we were gonna stay together. My heart, I was completely dedicated to him at that point. So I met my kid's stepmother now before she met my kids. And so there was a lot of respect given on both sides. Like, hey, I'm thinking about introducing her to the kids. Would you want to meet? And I was like, sure, I'd love to meet her before she meets the kids, So there was a lot of respect and grace given on both sides there. And my ex wanted 50% custody. So, and I know that because my mom had full custody of me and I didn't really have a very strong relationship with my father growing up. I thought that was important, even though at the time I wanted my kids 100% of the time and couldn't dream of a life where that wasn't the scenario. And I think that's why a lot of women stay inside of relationships, because they're like, I don't want to not see my kids 50% of the time, right? And so we shared 50-50 custody, and it wasn't terrible. I had time for myself. I had time to go out. I couldn't really feel guilty about it because my kids were with their dad, and that relationship was really important. And I have to say, like, the split custody thing affords a lot of benefits as well. You know, my husband and I travel together without our children. We travel with them as well, but we definitely do travel without them as well. And the only reason we can really do that is because we're, you know, both divorced and our kids go to their other parents 50% of the time. Maybe that sounds like callous and hard, but like it's good for my kids, and I have gotten used to it. I've gotten used to not only having them 50% of the time. So when I have them, I'm really focused on them. I very rarely will take an event at night or anything like that when my kids are with me. Like, it's got to be a really big deal in order for me to take the time away from them. And then when they're not with me, they're with their dad, and I talk to them every day still. So we still feel very callous.
I want to go back. I don't think it's callous for you to say that. I think that if you were to ask your children, would they rather be with mommy full time and not have a relationship with their daddy? Or would they like to have a relationship with both their parents? I think it's way healthier for them to have a relationship with both their parents. And yes, it's very difficult when you're not with your kids. I found it very challenging. And I did not meditate. I felt sad. I went through a very tough, dark period during that time period, but I did find a way to come out, and I did start to find ways to flourish during that time period and take advantage of that extra time. So I think that, you know, I think it's way better for your children at the end of the day.
Yeah, and there's so many more people that get to love them now.
Yes.
Because, you know, on their stepmom's side, she has a big family. They welcomed them in with open arms. They've got all of these people that I don't even know half of them, but I see the Christmas gifts and I know that they're just like centered in love there. And same thing on, you know, my husband has a really large family as well that they were welcome into. And I think, wow, look at how much more love has been poured into my kids as a result of our split. You know, we often think about all the negative aspects and not the positive.
Yeah. Well, and it goes from 4 people or 2 people raising a child to all of a sudden a village.
Yeah.
Right?
Truly.
And it is really a village, and that's a gift for your kids. How do you handle disagreements when it comes to, I think you already mentioned that, but have you had any major disagreements when it comes to parenting the kids, and how have you handled them?
I mean, we had disagreements when we were together. Like, it's not like they magically went away now that we have 2 different households. And so, yeah, we try and communicate a lot with each other. It's not always, you know, like, there's tension still sometimes, but we get through it. We just, we still will see a counselor to give us languaging and tools and how do we get on a united front, especially now that we're raising teenagers. There's a whole other season of parenting now, and it's difficult. And so, yeah, we just really try and keep the communication open. We probably talk still like 3 to 4 times a week, but I see that changing. So my stepsons are 19 and 21, and I can see my husband and his ex-wife don't need to do that anymore because they're in a different season where they just don't. So, like, it will change. Right now, it feels like a little bit more than even when they were younger. Because bigger people, bigger problems.
Yeah.
How do we support as a united front?
Yeah, that's a big one. And I thought that once they were out of high school, it would get easier, and it doesn't.
Okay, awesome.
It just becomes more complicated because then there's university, there's going to dorms, there's different dynamics. There's a lot. And for young kids today, it's not the same as it was before. So, so when you remarried, what was the most surprising part about blending your families?
Oh, that's a good question. The most surprising part. Gosh, I mean, it did work pretty well. Like, the kids all really liked each other. And I know that's not the same in every household, but our kids are 13, 16, 19, 21. So there's like enough of an age gap. I would say the first year was sort of like the reforming. It's almost like you think about when you bring a new team together, you know, there's sort of the was it storming, norming, forming, or you're kind of like the first can be a little rocky, then you're kind of forming this new dynamic. And then it's like kind of more the normalization of that. What we've really focused on with our family is travel. So we started traveling with our 4 kids because it was really the only time where we were all hanging out together because they all have very different lives. They're all in different activities. If we got a dinner together once or twice a week, it was a miracle. And so the travel is what really has bonded our family and created really special memories, doing cool things, new things. And we're very privileged to be able to do that. All the kids really love and appreciate each other. I think when they were younger, the dynamic was, just, it's not like they asked each other how their day was or anything, but I'm seeing them now that they're a bit older. There's a cooler kind of relationship developing now that they're more mature. And so we've been really lucky with how well it's played out.
I think even if you're not separated or blended, I think travel for a family is always a great way to bring your family together because it gets the kids out of their environment.
Totally.
And you're together the whole time, and it really does bring you together. I travel with my kids on my own and have for years, and I find that it really connects us.
Keep them close.
It really does, yeah. You've built an incredible career as co-founder of Matern, a speaker, professional coach, and a women's advocate. How did you find the drive to pursue your career while going through your separation, while being divorced, navigating everything that you're navigating?
Yeah, different seasons of life. I would say my capacity has expanded in the last 5 years because my kids are aging. I'm sort of like through the messy kind of hard part for quite a while now. I would say there was a period of my life where status quo, like I didn't really grow it. I just let myself sit and like, this is what it is right now. And it feels really hard and really muddy and really messy because while I was going through that, my dad also was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. He became a paraplegic. I had to transition him into like an extended care home and was sort of a primary caregiver for him. So I had to visit him a lot and make sure his needs were taken care of as well. And I just gave myself permission not to grow my career during those years because it was hard enough just to kind of get out of bed and get through the day. And I think that we need to recognize as women, we've got long trajectories in our career and we have a lot of capacity. Well, listen, we're not retiring at 50, where our capacity goes beyond that. So if you are in a place where you feel like you don't have the capacity to push in your career, that's okay. That is just a season of life and it will change. It's not always going to stay that way. It's based on the circumstances that you're in right now. So I think more than anything, I just gave myself permission to be okay with where I was. It wasn't where I wanted to be, but I knew that would come.
So there's never been a choice that you had to choose between advancing your career and being present as a mother.
I think I've done my best to let both coexist, and I've always been very proactive in my communication with my kids about how important and how much I love my career and how much I love them as well in a different way, and we're allowed to have both. And I never really apologized for that. My kids always know that that's an important part of what mom does. And I have to say, having a 16-year-old daughter, like she, really gets it more now and really, I think, has an admiration for it, and comes to me a lot for advice and wants to come see some of the speaking things I'm doing and tells her friends about, kind of what I do full time. And that, I think that's great for her. I think hopefully it's giving her ideas about what she wants to grow into as well. There was a time after I had my first, my daughter, and my ex-husband said, "Well, you're going back to work?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I'm going back to work." And he was like, "Well, I just thought you'd look into our daughter's eyes and just not want to leave her." And I remember feeling a lot of shame that there was this aspect of me that also felt really important and that I didn't want to stay home full time with her. And honestly, I really struggled through the maternity leave days. My daughter had colic. She screamed 4 to 6 hours a day for the first 4 months of her life. My ex at the time traveled quite a bit for work. I was very lonely, very isolated, and I missed that part of myself. And that actually was part of the impetus for co-creating Matern, which supports women at work through key life stages. But we started with maternity leave because I really struggled as an ambitious kind of younger career woman with reconciling my ambition and motherhood.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to provide support for women that might kind of feel similarly.
So what role has your career helped you in terms of healing after your divorce?
I mean, it gave me something to focus on, for sure, without making it feel like it was replacing, the work I had to do, my own inner work at the time. I mean, my career has always been very important to me. And I think that what the divorce gave me is the drive to support other women. I've supported a lot of women through separations and divorces, and been an empathetic ear and advice giver. And then I eventually moved into an executive coaching role myself. I left a full-time job, and then started my own executive coaching company, and then went on to co-found Matern. And honestly, like, we're supporting women at work through key life stages, and relationship piece comes up a lot as a common thread through that. And we bring in amazing guest speakers and experts in this area to also facilitate healing and awareness and growth for women through these stages. So I would say the divorce, really just amplified my desire to support women in an even deeper way.
Yeah, I think that once we walk that path, we want to make it easier for others.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And one of the things, going back to the discussion around going back to work after having your daughter, did you find at all that other mothers that were staying at home shamed you for going back to work?
Yeah, I felt that way. In my community, there was a lot of, don't you just love maternity leave? Don't you never want to go back to work? And I was like, oh, I would rather be working right now, but this is a lot harder than work is. Yeah, I felt shame around that for sure. And I think that's why I wanted to co-create Matern, to normalize that not everyone feels that way. Lots of women, we're allowed to have both. We're allowed to want to be present, loving, patient, engaging mothers and have a career. Those things can mutually coexist, and one doesn't necessarily make the other one suffer. I think if you do it in a way that aligns with your values, then you can make it work. Absolutely.
And I don't think it makes you any less of a mother because you're not there 100% of the time.
No,
and
my mother was never there.
I think it's it's kind of laughable to say that we're not good mothers because we're focusing on our careers.
I read a stat once that said, like, mothers in the 70s and 80s, actually stay-at-home moms in the 70s and 80s spent less time with their children than working mothers in the 2000s.
Really?
Because when we grew up, I was born in 78, it was like children should be seen, not heard.
Yes.
I have no memories. I'm sure my mom would, I hope she doesn't listen to this, but I have no memories of my mom playing with me.
Me neither.
Like, ever.
No.
And that didn't make me feel like she didn't love me any less. It just wasn't a norm. I do think we've swung to, and listen, I'm a fan of attachment parenting and all of that sort of stuff, but I think we've swung so hard to this side of pouring every ounce of our being into our children and forgetting about ourselves. And I don't really know if it's doing them some great service in life. I've met mothers who have done that and then their kids have graduated and gone off to university, and they said, I regret not doing more for myself, or taking on a small job or whatever that might be. It wouldn't have harmed them in any sort of way. And my kids don't remember anything. I remember feeling guilt-ridden for training for this half marathon because I was working and then I was trying to be present with the kids when I wasn't working, and I was training for this half marathon, and they were like, oh, you're going on a run again? And I felt so guilty, and I was going to just turf it. And then the other day I mentioned to my kids, oh yeah, and when I used to run half marathons, and my son's like, oh really, you used to run? I don't even remember that. I'm like, they don't remember anything before the age of 7.
Yeah.
And yet I just gave myself such a hard time. I would go back and be like, go for the run. Don't worry, they're not going to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And now look at it. Your daughter is now looking at you in your career and admiring that. And it sounds like proud of you.
Yes. Yeah. I would go out on a limb and say she's proud of me.
I feel that with my kids, where they're proud of where I am and what I've accomplished, and they're proud to talk about me with their friends and that kind of thing. So
I think it's important to make the choice. To make the choices that work for you and your family.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of women that stay home with their children, and that's the choice they wanted to make, and they're amazing at it. And it fills them in such a huge way. And so we're all different, and we all make different choices.
Yeah.
And I would never slam another parent's choice and what's right for them and their family.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So what would you say is the biggest misconception people have about divorced women who go on to remarry and thrive?
Oh, misconception. I've never even really thought about that. I mean, I don't really think about what other people think.
Well, that's good, because it's none of your business what other people think of you. So
did Michelle Obama say that or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like someone once said to me, what's more important to you than what other people think?
Yeah.
And it was such a great question, because it really made me turn inward and say, well, what I care more about is, am I living in alignment with my values?
Yeah.
Is my family safe and happy? Am I feeling like I'm making an impact in this world? And, once I kind of got clear on that, I just really lost connection with the conception or the misconceptions, because, I can't control that. All I can control is how I show up. And so I think more women should care less about what other people think and what they're going to think about you separating, because it's really none of their business, and they're not living inside of your life.
We're going to wrap it up with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Coffee or tea?
Herbal tea, can't do caffeine. Would love to, but can't.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Yeah, I'm a morning person.
I
can do nighttime. I could push a 4 a.m. in Vegas if you need.
can?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Do you need a nap in between to to push the distance?
No, I would not.
No. What's the book that you're currently reading?
I just finished The Pivot Year by Brianna Wiest. Mm-hmm. If you are going through a separation or contemplating it, or a divorce, this is the book you need to read, The Pivot Year.
And what is the last book that you really loved aside from that one?
Oh, I've read a lot of good ones. I think, I love Dr. Gabor Mate's book, When the Body Said No, The Hidden Cost of Stress. That was one that was a wake-up call for me.
Yeah, yeah. Favorite guilty pleasure for TV show?
Love is Blind. Watch the Swedish version, the French version, the UK version. It's embarrassing, actually.
Comfort food after a long day?
Chocolate.
It's a no-brainer. One song that instantly lifts your mood. I know that you love music, so can you really narrow it down to one song that would just take you?
Yeah, probably Even Better Than the Real Thing by U2.
Mm-hmm. If you had a free weekend with no kids and no work, what would you do?
Well, I often have those. I might go to Naramata and do some wine tasting, or go to the island for like a spa weekend.
Nice. What's your favorite motivational quote?
It would probably be, we can do no great things, only small things with great love. Mother Teresa. Name my daughter after her. It's her middle name.
That's it. It's beautiful. Wine, cocktail, or mocktail?
Wine, preferably Italian sparkling, not Prosecco, but Franciacorta or Alta Longa.
Nice. Well, you've done a lot of traveling.
Or a Brunello.
So I might have to try that. What's always in your purse?
Food.
Food? Really?
I get low blood sugar.
Okay.
I've got a granola bar and nuts packed anywhere.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed our chat. I feel that you contributed so much to the conversation around divorce and separation, and that there is beautiful life to be lived post-divorce. And thank you for being an inspiration and for all the work you do professionally, personally, everything. I'm a big fan. Thank you for joining. I'm a big fan of
yours too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sabina.
Thank you for joining me today on the Divorce Circle podcast. Together, we're rewriting the story of divorce, from endings to empowered new beginnings. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.